everyone. My name is Kate Halamaiser, and I am our organizer of this event. I want to thank everyone for being here today. I want to thank the East Brunswick Township for helping in organizing this event and allowing us to be here to show our support to Ukrainian people. And Mayor of our city, Brett Cohen, who will speak later, but I just want to thank everyone to help me to do that. I am not a politician. I am not a public speaker. I am here to speak out of my heart. And the urgent matter, the territorial integrity, sovereignty, and freedom of Ukraine is under relentless assault of Russia. We come here united to support people in Ukraine, military and civilian, who are suffering every day. I was born and raised in Ukraine, so Ukraine is my country, is my home. I grew up there, and even though I left the country 30 years ago, it's in my heart every day. Listening and hearing the name of the city and streets that connected to my childhood and me growing up, my parents, in the content of the war, people are being killed there. It's absolutely, it's horrible. We're all facing the effect of this war. We all have a new routine. We all wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning to check on the safety of people who are back there. And it doesn't matter whether you're born in Ukraine or you have roots in Ukraine. Just any human being can see the horror of this war. We are all here united to support the Ukraine. I want to encourage people to speak. It's a peaceful community and peaceful organization and gathering. So please, if you speak, please restrain yourself from any vulgar or any unnecessary language. We are not politicians here. We're here to speak from our heart. And to conclude my portion of speech, I would like to add that these are poem that was written by Ukrainian-born Jewish writer. So the poem is written by, can you hear me? By David Kovstein. He wrote his poetry in Yiddish. It's been translated to Russian and Ukraine, and I will read that in Russian. So I'm sorry, guys, but I just, want to read it. The poem has been written in 1942, and it's called Ukraine. Украина. Сквозь огонь и сквозь пепел, сквозь дым и бои, ты вздымаешь разбитые руки свои. С густком крови покрыта твоя голова, но я вижу лицо, ты жива, ты жива. И в глазах твоих детских сияющий свет, что приходит всегда за опасностью в свет, за смятением разум приходит всегда, как весной вода из-под хрупкого льда. Поднимаешься ты, выпрямляешься ты, и лохмотья спадают с твоей красоты. Улыбаешься ты, светлым взором блестя. И уж видно, ты не женщина, ты женщина, а не дитя. Ты сияешь величественно и строга, сквозь позор, унижение, насилие врага. Ты юная, чистая сила твоя, что боролась, сверкала, сияла в боях, что все тучи разгонит, как ветроструя. Украина моя, Украина моя.
for the cherished freedom. Cossack blood will raise the nation of the joyous people. For the liberty the folk strive ardently from dawn to dawn, and will let no alien power in our common home. Aged Emperor and Black Sea arm in arm rejoice, and Ukraine will see daylight and live by fortune's choice. We will lay our soul and body for the cherished freedom. Cossack blood will raise the nation of the joyous people. Passion and hard-working hands prove bright future true. Song of freedom, loud and clear, guides us all the way through. Over mountains and steppes it flows, over ages told. Valorous Ukraine stands strong in a thriving world. And now there is Mayor Cohen.
Thank you. First, I'd like to have a big round of applause for Katerina, who put this program together for everybody here tonight. I think that it underscores exactly what it is to be an American and to have the freedoms to be able to sit here today, stand here today, and be able to assemble and protest what we believe is the poor treatment and the attempt to exterminate a people in another land who did absolutely nothing wrong. I'm not Ukrainian. I'm not going to be able to stand here today and tell you about my family from Ukraine. I don't have that. But a couple of months ago, my father-in-law died just shy of 96 years of age, a concentration camp victim. He was born in 1925 in what was Czechoslovakia at the time, in a town called Mukachevo, which sits at the base of the Carpathian Mountains, and at the time that he was born was part of Czechoslovakia. Shortly afterwards, it became part of Hungary, and then after World War II, it was part of the USSR, and then in 1989, when the USSR broke up into its pieces, it's back to being part of Ukraine. So I do actually have. And the thing that he remembers living in what was Hungary at the time of the war when he and his family were taken away was that Hungary tried to remain neutral as the German government annexed part of Czechoslovakia and slowly but surely other parts of Europe. And the sentiment at the time was that, oh, Hitler's a madman. If we just let him have this peace, he'll just go away and it'll stop. But that lesson was not the first time a despot or a ruler or a tyrant tried to do the same thing. And it was foolish to believe that that would happen then. It was foolish to believe that it was going to work before, because it never had. And it is just as foolish now to believe that Putin is going to stop at the Ukraine. So I think that it is vitally important that we stand here as Americans, whether we are of Ukrainian descent or not, and speak our piece, because the history of what's about to happen has been written before. And we as Americans have to decide exactly what degree of involvement we are going to participate in. I also had a relative of mine that died a couple of weeks ago, was a Vietnam War veteran. And if we think about what got us into the Vietnam War, it was an attempt on the United States' part to stop the spread of communism. And we got involved in that war. And we, unfortunately, to this day, almost a half a century later, still live with the scars of that war. And so I don't have answers for it. But we need to think about what we want to do as Americans, what involvement we are going to have to support. I think there's an even greater reason in this instance than we had back in Vietnam to be involved. So where are we going to place our American troops and our support? It's great to be here today. I'm glad everyone's here. But let's also not forget that this conflict is being brought about by the part of an authoritarian government and one person. And it's really scary to me to know that we live in a day and age where we could actually have one person whose hands on a nuclear button and can annihilate the world and can just totally walk into another country and just take over, destroy people's lives. My father-in-law lived with the scars of that war the rest of his life. It will affect the children of the Ukraine for generations to come. So I thank each of you for being out here today. I thank you for doing your part as an American. I thank God that I'm an American and that I can sit in this country and be able to enjoy the benefits of the freedoms that we live. When I leave here today, and most of you leave here today, you're going to get in your cars and maybe go shopping. And guess what? When you go into the supermarket, there's going to be, you might not be happy about the price that you're going to pay for the food that you get, but you actually have shelves that are stocked with food. You have your kids that are going to participate in school activities. Tomorrow we're all going to get dressed and go to work. The people in the Ukraine don't have that opportunity. It's been taken away from them. And it's our obligation to do our part to make sure that we support them and support the efforts for them to fight for their freedoms. So thank you all for being here today.
So where I was grown up in Kiev, and when I was grown up, we were grown up on the stories of this war, where our grandparents have to be through this war. Our grandfather have to fight in the war, many of them killed. Our grandmother have to flee from Kiev with small kids. Our grandparents, many of them left in Babi Yar, or small Babi Yars all over Ukraine. So it's unimaginable that we have situation when another Hitler at the wall of Kiev. So we have to stop this, and what you can do. First of all, you have to press all politicians to help Ukraine with weapons, with money. Stop buying oil from Russia. Stop this. Boycott companies that still buying oil from Russia. Shell, they still buying oil from Russia. Boycott them. Second, what you can do. The simplest way to provide weapons is to donate. Ukraine needs modern weapons, not simple machine guns, rockets, Stingers, air defense system, modern weapons, lots of them. So the simplest, fastest way to do this is to donate. We distributed pages with donation sites, please do. Okay? And finally, русский военный корабль пошел.
David Gopstein, the poem that Kate read. He's a distant relative of mine, and thank you. I appreciate you reading his poem. When I accepted my U.S. citizenship on August 10, 2001, 1 month before 9/11, I took my citizenship oath to give up allegiance to foreign nations seriously. Since that moment, I identified as an American, just one with a funny accent. I haven't said a word in Russian or Ukrainian unless I had to, only when I was speaking to my parents. And the only flag I waved since then was American. And yet the gravity of the Russian aggression in Ukraine hit me very personally, in more ways than I could have ever imagined. If these events are so painful to me, my heart goes out to you who still have family there. I was just over 7 years old in May 1986 when my dad drove my mom, my younger brother, myself, and my grandparents to the central train station in Kiev and sent us off to a safer area 2 weeks after the Chernobyl explosion. And only decades later, in my 40s, having experienced Chernobyl, immigration, 9/11, and the pandemic, I had discussions with my parents about it. I'm sorry, it's not easy for me to, it's a painful topic. That May of 1986 was just bare essentials in a few suitcases. My parents did not think we would be coming back home. And I can make an argument that it was the events of Chernobyl that paved the way for us to emigrate to America. As an adult, I now realize that I was a refugee twice. And now I see, even though I haven't been back, this is off script, I haven't been back to Ukraine in 28 years, but I have childhood friends there. And well, I see images and I talk to my friends, I see literally the streets of my childhood being erased from my past. Over the past 10 days, my social media timeline has been filled with desperate posts from my childhood friends in Kiev. Some of them joined territorial defense. Some stayed back to make food packs for the elderly and volunteers. Many of them waited till the last moment to get their families to safety. You see, no one wants to be a refugee. No one willingly gets up and says, today I'm going to drop everything and uproot my family. It doesn't work that way. This week, I got a call from a childhood friend while I was working out, and I almost missed talking to him for what could have been last time. Just like my father in May of 1986, he was at that same central train station in Kiev, getting his family to board the train to safety. He told me he was worried he may never see them again. He thanked me for my friendship over the years. We both regretted not finding time to visit one another. And he said that it might be last time we speak. And as we spoke, an air raid siren went off, and that's the sound I don't want to hear ever again. He told me to hug my loved ones. One thing is clear, Ukraine and Ukrainians did not threaten anyone. They're not ruled by Nazis and terrorists. Those are Putin's words, not mine. If that were the case, I must know a lot of them from my childhood. I must know a lot of Nazis and terrorists then. The West is supplying Ukraine with weapons, and as previous speaker said, there are ways for us to help. Russia will soon begin feeling the pain of crippling economic sanctions, and in the meantime, the world refugee crisis is about to get much worse. Already there is over a million refugees left the war zone. I think about the families who packed up their belongings. Some of them let their pets go. And by the way, my friend's mother doesn't want to leave because she has an elderly cat. And I think of children who can't go to school, who lost their toys, their homes, and slept in bomb shelters. And fathers who can't leave Ukraine right now, who send their wives and children to safety. It's all because no one wants to be a refugee unless they have to. And childhood, like Mayor Cohen said, childhood wounds run deep. This morning I asked my friend who did manage to get to safety, how is his 8-year-old daughter handling it? And he said, she's doing great, it's a new experience to her. And I remember how for me, being 7.5 and fleeing Chernobyl, it was a new fun experience for me. Now I realize it actually wasn't that much fun. I urge you to consider donating to UNICEF Fund to help children of Ukraine who are least responsible for this war. Please consider donating to organizations such as HIAS, which by the way helped my family emigrate. They're helping refugees find safety, and World Central Kitchen that is feeding them at the Polish border. I posted this list on Facebook, and I can text it to whoever asks. And before I conclude, look at this crowd. Our town has a vibrant, diverse community with lots of immigrant groups. It is my sincere belief that we are all in America to live in peace with one another. We are all neighbors, Russian, Ukrainian, Belarusian. We are all in America for the same reasons, and let's not lose sight of that. Thank you very much.
My name is Aruna Yagari. I live in East Brunswick. I'm a pilot and a lieutenant in the U.S. Air Force Auxiliary. It's unfortunate that we're here today to talk about something which shouldn't have happened in the first place. Poland, 700,000. Hungary, 144,000. Moldova, 103,000. Romania, 57,000. Slovakia, 90,000. These are not the median household incomes. These are the number of Ukrainian refugees on day 10 of, I don't know what to call it, invasion or war or whatever Russian President Mr. Putin is doing. Thank you. Yeah, war, thank you. So on day 10, these are, in the past 10 days, over 1.2 million refugees from Ukraine left to the west side of the Ukrainian border. It's unfortunate, and all of this is happening because of arrogance, ego, and brazen display of power by one man. We all know who that man is Mr. President of Russia. I cannot help, Mr. Putin, I cannot help but appreciate the courage and strength of Ukrainian citizens and Ukrainian President Zelensky. I saw the statement, I'm a journalist too. Thank you. Thank you guys. I saw a statement by Zelensky where he's unwilling to leave the nation. He's not fleeing the nation, he's there for Ukrainian citizens, he's there for all of you guys. And he invoked martial law, and you all know what that is, right? All men between 18 and 60 cannot leave Ukraine nation. And thankfully, citizens, all men in Ukraine were willing to do that, to stay with Ukraine and to help people in Ukraine. I cannot help but notice the arrogance of this one man fighting an unjust war purely out of his selfishness. Ukraine is not a nation which is in the midst of a civil war or anything like that. Ukraine is a perfectly democratic, right?
Yes.
Perfectly sovereign nation, and it has a right to have independent thought, and it has a right for freedom of thought. Someone from an eastern border attacking a country like that, I cannot imagine. 2014 was Crimea, 2022 is Ukraine. What next, Moldova? That's what I keep hearing, because that's not part of NATO. That's an easy target for Mr. Putin in Russia. So we should not let this happen. I'm glad somebody mentioned, I think the second speaker mentioned about sanctions. The United States is with Ukraine. East Brunswick, Mr. Mayor, we are with Ukraine, with all of you guys. And the US and the whole world should place tougher sanctions. They're thinking of removing energy from the sanction. No, we should also include energy and oil as part of the sanction. So the arrogant president of Russia realizes that he is not omnipotent. He's not the most powerful person. There are other countries, other sovereign countries. You might not know what the meaning of sovereignty is. There are other sovereign countries in this planet which will be with Ukraine. So more tougher sanctions on Russia, including oil and energy. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ukraine. We're all with you.
Thank you so much.
I have a request for Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, is there something we could do from East Brunswick? As a proud resident of East Brunswick, is there something we could do to our fellow brothers and sisters from Ukraine? Please let us know. Thank you very much.
Glory to Ukraine! Slava Ukraini! We Ukrainian Americans do not sleep very much these days. We read the news, talk to the family and friends in Ukraine late at night, trying to find out how they're doing, how they spend the night, and if they're still alive. Same for Ukrainian diaspora all over the world. During the day, Ukrainian diaspora all over the world attending the rallies, reaching out to each other, supporting Ukrainian organizations all over the world, organizing help efforts for Ukraine, doing what we can, contributing with the area of expertise we have, and then going to churches, community centers, packing the goods, loading them onto the trucks, flying them over to Poland and then to Ukraine, contacting our legislators, donating money, spreading the awareness, asking for help. And all that does not seem like enough. Civilian people in Ukraine are suffering, running from their homes and lands, sleeping with their children in bathtubs and basements, joining territorial defense, learning how to fight and give the first aid, feeding refugees and the soldiers, evacuating children and families, and trying to grasp the reality that cannot be comprehended. That is the reality of the life now for Ukrainian peaceful, civilized, hardworking, and hospitable people. I myself live in a split reality. I cannot reconcile the ordinary life around me and the war that is raging in my head and in my heart. I am a nurse. In my career, I worked in emergency medicine, and I know that medical personnel, firefighters, and most importantly, Ukrainian army, as professionals, doing every day and night the job that they trained for, and they are doing it extremely well. They are running out of supplies, weapons, they are tired and desperately asking for help. The world is shown an enormous support, but it is not enough. Lives are lost every day. There is nothing worse than waiting and hoping for help and reinforcements to come and realizing that no one is coming. That you have to continue to fight the battle and stand to the death. Winston Churchill, when the Great Britain was surrounded and outnumbered, said, "We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on our beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender." Ukrainian people are doing just that. Will the civilized world just watch and wait? Ukraine is very grateful for all the humanitarian aid that is pouring into Poland and Ukraine. Ukrainian people overwhelmingly have no desire to become refugees. They want to live on their land and they are willing to fight for it. They are asking for help and reinforcements. Russia has been throwing its weight around for hundreds of years, terrorizing and exterminating Ukrainian people. 10 million of Ukrainians were starved to death during the man-made famine 1932-1933, and millions exiled to Siberia, jammed into cattle carts, and later dropped in the middle of the frozen fields to fend for themselves. Russia has lost this war already. The army is demoralized. The chaos wreaked by international sanctions felt in Russia. They understand that they did not gain any support in Ukraine and internationally, but Putin's leadership is digging in their heels and bent on destroying Ukraine. That's more deaths, more destruction, more displaced people. The world needs to act and help Ukraine with weapons, technology, aircrafts, and show a full-scale engagement before it's too late. Ukraine is a very large country. It has the biggest nuclear power plants in Europe, which Russia can use to threaten and ultimately destroy all of the Europe. The rest of the world will not be safe if this nuclear catastrophe unfolds. There is already 1.5 million Ukrainian refugees in Europe. Most of them want to go back home, back to their lives, but there's no home left. Ukraine is the breadbasket of the world. 40% of the world grains are produced in Ukraine. That is not to mention everything else that was growing in Ukraine was growing and was exported worldwide. Springtime is coming. Instead of planting, the farmers are fleeing or fighting, and the destruction and devastation to the infrastructure is enormous. The world needs to take note of that as well. Standing by is not an answer. This is a global catastrophe. We are in it together. World leaders need to be united and decisive, willing to show that they will stand with Ukraine by acting. Otherwise, the history will repeat itself. Atrocities will go on. Exterminations will go on. Suffering will go on as the world stands by. I want to leave you and all all American people that would be listening or watching this with the words of Eric Maria Remarque, a novelist who witnessed and wrote about atrocities of World War I and World War II. A man can gasp out his life beside you, and you feel none of it. Pity, sympathy, sure, but you don't feel the pain. Your belly is whole, and that's what counts. A half yard away, someone's world is snuffled out in roaring agony, and you feel nothing. That's the misery of the world. Thank you.
Hello guys, my name is Ina Skibinski and I'm a nurse at Robert Johnson Hospital in Brunswick. I'm also an immigrant from Odessa, 24 years here. I was standing in line to make my little speech, which I absolutely did not plan, and I heard actually the beats of my own heart, because just like every single one of you and the whole world, my heart is beating abnormally today. A few words. I've been here many years, I keep in very close contact with my friends, and they're in Odessa, very scared, just like everywhere around the world. My mom and dad are still alive. My dad is almost 90, my mom is 85. They both are survivors of the World War II. My mom was 4 when she was hit with 4 infectious diseases trying to escape to Uzbekistan from Odessa. She had measles, mumps, rubella, and bloody diarrhea. She almost died. My dad was 9 when he lost his father in the war, and he grew as a street boy doing gangs plays because he had no father. I mean, my father is an engineer and a very respectful American. My aunt was a young woman with a 1.5 months old baby in Poland when her and many others were taken outside in January of 42 to be shot. She pretended that she was shot and fell on the ground. At night, she escaped to Poland, to a little village, and no neighbors wanted to open the door because she had a Jewish star. And one door opened, there was Polish ksiądz, which means Polish priest, who saved them. In the morning, the neighbors squealed and let the Germans know the priest is hiding the Jews. The priest opened the door, the German shepherds were barking. He came out with a big cross and he said, "God bless this family, they are not Jews, they're all Christians." That's how my aunt survived. And a little baby who was 1.5 months old became an ophthalmologist. My father is crying every day. He's 90. My both parents survived cancer, and they are glued by television, crying together with the whole world and with Ukraine. My thoughts are a little disorganized, so please forgive me. I want to thank all my American neighbors and American co-workers. Every day I hear support. My Romanian neighbor Karina, who is here with her half-Japanese son William, are helpful. They bring the fruits. My American neighbor Becky actually left by my door this amazing poster to put on the wall. It has a picture of sunflower. It says, "Be a sunflower, stand tall, be resilient, never let your colors fade, bend perhaps, but never break. Always turn your face towards the sunlight." I wish my Ukrainian friends and Russian people who are pro-Ukraine, who are pro-peace and pro-people, to survive this war. I hope Americans, all Americans get involved. You know, I realized yesterday I haven't brushed my teeth for 3 days. I just did not feel it was important because I work night shift. I was helping my American friend who is fighting a couple of cancers, and I thought teeth were not important. This morning I said, I gotta do something. So I contacted my friend from Odessa, whose daughter is a refugee now in Moldova. Moldova has absolutely no places for Ukrainian immigrants to hide because it's a small place. She's in Belzi, and there are no apartments. So she's paying $25 per night with a 3-year-old boy who has a speech deficit. And they were going to, speech doctor. Now it stopped. So the kid, I don't know when he's going to speak. Long story short, I said, what can I do? She gave me the name of the daughter. I went to Western Union, and in 5 minutes, I transferred $1,000. I wish it could be more. So I said, okay, it's working. So I put on the Facebook the post. I already get all my American coworkers contacting me. Can I drop money by your house? What's the number? So at least I feel like I'm doing something because I was actually powerless and I was very down. But I just very, very optimistic today that so many people help. So, Slava Ukraini!
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for letting us use your facilities here in town of East Brunswick. My name is Mark Bukachevsky. I'm a Ukrainian American. We all live in the greatest country in the world. It's called the United States of America. The key word there is united. Smart people wrote a document that said in there basically United States of America, and it goes, united we stand, divided we fall. And on behalf of all Ukrainians in America, all Ukrainians across the world, I thank everyone for being here and showing the unity that our political leaders are trying to get the world to understand so that the country can receive the help it deserves. Just a little few points of history. In 1994, the Budapest Accords, the Ukrainians gave up the 3rd largest nuclear arsenal on the planet. And I wonder today how that would have played out had they been able to do the same thing that Mr. Putin is threatening his nuclear saber rattling. Ukrainians are peace-loving. In 2004, they changed the direction of their country with the Orange Revolution, heading towards a peaceful democracy. In 2014, there was what was called the, my mind just, oh yes, the Revolution of Dignity, where they ousted a pro-totalitarianism government and pro-Russian government and instituted a democratic form of government. In the time since independence, there have been 6 world-recognized legal elections in Ukraine, democratic elections. Our neighbors to the north, although we respect them greatly, cannot really say that because they haven't really had a democratic election because the man in charge has been in charge that long. So again, united States of America, united world, and we shall help and we shall overcome. Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is George Silverman, and like many of you, I was born in Ukraine. I came here as a child in 1978. I am from Kiev. For the last 10 days, I've been kind of going out of my mind. It's not that I have a lot of relatives back in Ukraine, but I do have friends. And it has been absolutely heartbreaking. I've been reading how the city of Kharkov is being bombarded by Grad rockets, how one of the rockets landed on a car carrying 3 children and their parents, and all of them burned alive. I read about how Russians are discriminately bombing apartment buildings. They're bombing the neighborhood that I lived in for 10 years. I lived next to the T tower that they bombed. It's been absolutely horrifying. As an American, I'm, in a way, I feel kind of lost. I'm not sure what to do. I came here to show my support. I didn't intend to speak. I thought maybe I would, but I didn't really have an intention. But people have been talking about what we can do to help. And I do have a suggestion. I want to read something to you from Politico. It says, Gazprom is the biggest Russia oil gas company, and their #1 bank is JP Morgan Chase. Yes, Chase. A lot of us have accounts there. They have a huge office in Moscow that's doing investment banking for the Russian government, for the largest Russian oil companies. They're #1 bank for Gazprom. I think we all need to tell Chase to stop it. They need to close their office in Moscow right now. If IKEA can close 17 of their stores in Russia, so can Chase. If not, then we drop their accounts. Please contact Chase and tell them no more office in Moscow. You cannot do this. You gotta have a conscience. Otherwise, you're gonna have the blood of Ukrainian children on your hands. You cannot do that. So that's the reason why I wanted to come up and say this. Please, you have something you can do right now, something concrete. Tell Chase to stop it. Thank you.
Слава Україні! Героям слава! I am so sorry for my English. My English is very, very poor. Sorry, my grammar is ugly, but I will try in my best. We are here like Ukraine already died. She is not, guys. But right now, Third World War is already started. We know it. All of us, we have internet, we have TV, all news, we know. And I will not tell you something. Yeah, I am from Ukraine. My name is Marina, but it's not important. Right now is nothing. We are here. Right now we are at safe place. But it is not forever, guys. I say right now, not for you, but for governor, for government, for countries, for like strong people as the world. We are at safe, not forever. Third World War starts already, and we can't make our face that it is not. It is. My friends, my family is at Ukraine right now. They are at Gostomel, as Bucha, Warzel. You know, my friends, my very close friend, she is pregnant, 2 weeks to delivery, and she can't go away from Irpin. It is not third war? No? What is it? Right now, if United States is silent, is watching, is supporting Russia, I know that tomorrow I can be taken off from United States. I understand it. But right now, Ukrainian people, we should be brave. All of us, we know news. We should, we was already go to governor, to congressman, to military. All people there, watching, hearing to us, but they do nothing. Lightning with a yellow and blue is nothing, is PR. It's just political PR. It's nothing. That is, I don't know this word in English. Це гріх. Це просто гріх.
It's a sin. It's a big sin. It's a big sin.
Yeah.
Sin.
And all of big politic, who don't do nothing right now, they will be at the в пеклі. Всі будемо ми в пеклі, якщо ми нічого зараз не зробимо. Sorry, I will speak Ukrainian. Я думаю, дуже багато людей зараз в світі будуть вже вчити українську також. Тому я закликаю вас, давайте ми не будемо просто виходити на мирні акції, як не то, що мирні, на акції підтримки. Давайте просити Америку реально підтримувати Україну у війні. Тому що бездіяльність Америки, в першу чергу, це найсильніша країна в світі. Бездіяльність Америки в даній ситуації – це підтримка Росії, це політика.
Help Ukraine!
Help Ukraine! Help Ukraine!
Help Ukraine! Help Ukraine!
Дякую. Слава Україні! Я не знаю, хто модератор, я не знаю, чи є ще виступаючі, але я би вам запропонувала заспівати гімн України всім разом, якщо нам модератор скаже.
Hi everybody, my name is Edward Romero. I'm originally from Odessa, Ukraine. We immigrated here with my family in 1995. I was just a little kid, so it's I've never really experienced Ukraine as an adult. But my soul and my heart are with Ukraine and Ukrainian people. And we have a lot of relatives there, and I have my friends there that I still went to school with. My wife has many relatives there in Mariupol. Unfortunately, it's hard to say what's going on with them right now. One of my wife's aunts was badly injured in rocket fire while she was walking a dog. It was terrible to hear those news. Some of the family have tried to migrate west. They went from Mariupol, and from Kiev they went to Lviv. They're trying to get out. All the men obviously are staying back to fight. And it's just terrible of what's going on there. Everybody here spoke already, so I don't have to repeat what everybody said that was already said. And I'm just glad that we can get together united as American Ukrainians, as Ukrainians, and be proud of the people who are fighting this terrible person, fighting this atrocious war, and fighting this madman. It just breaks my heart. Also, what I wanted to say was a group of friends, my wife and I and a group of friends organized a humanitarian aid drive. And we have partnered with B'nai Shalom Temple in East Brunswick. It's on 15 Fern Road in East Brunswick. And we're currently collecting aid for Ukraine, humanitarian aid. We're working with a couple of shipment companies that work directly with Ukraine that are collecting. So we're collecting aid here, and then we're going to bring it to the shipment companies to take it there. The priority right now is hospital equipment and any equipment for soldiers, dry foods, non-perishable food items, any kind of medical equipment that the hospitals can use, that the soldiers can use out in the field, first aid kits, etc., etc. Also, we're accepting like thermal wear for soldiers, gear for soldiers. Those are the priority items. And the first shipment is supposed to go out on Tuesday, March 8th. We've already filled a huge room with donations, and we really appreciate the community from getting together. East Brunswick, Milltown, Old Bridge, everybody just got together and contributed. Monroe Township, Granbury, it's just incredible the amount of aid that we're receiving. And I just want to say, if you are able to provide any humanitarian aid, especially those prioritized items, it would be greatly appreciated if you can drop it off at Nye Shalom Synagogue on 15th Fern Road in East Brunswick. Thank you.
So, everybody, the first song is Nese Haля Vodu. Everybody from Ukraine knows it really well. Haля воду, корами сповнеться, за нею Іванко, як барвінок п'ється, за нею Іванко, як барвінок п'ється. Галю моя, Галю, дай води напиться, ти ж така хороша, дай хоч подивися, ти ж така хороша, дай хоч подивися. Вода у станочку, той піди напийся, я буду в садочку, прийди подивися, я буду в садочку, прийди подивися. Прийшов у садочок, зозуля кувала, а ти ж мене, Галю, та й не шанувала, а ти ж мене, Галю, та й не шанувала. Несе Галя воду, короми славнеться, за нею Іванко, як барвінок п'ється, за нею Іванко, як барвінок п'ється. Червона рута. One more song.
Можливо, давайте заспіваємо молитву за Україну, брат.
Давайте. Ти признайся мені, звідки в тебе ті чари, я без тебе всі дні, у полоні печалі, може десь у лісах, вітер зілля склала, сонце руки знайшла і мене щарувала. Червону руту не шукай вечорами, ти у мене єдина, тільки ти повір. О, твоя врода, то є чистая вода,
весна, у дібровах зелених, по забутих стежках, ти приходиш до мене, і не треба нести мені квітку надії, бо давно вже ти увійшла в мої мрії. Червону руту не шукай вечорами, ти у мене єдина, тільки ти. Повір, бо твоя врода, то є чистая вода, то є бистрая вода синіє. Слава Україні! One more time together! Червону руту не шукай вечорами, ти у мене єдина, тільки ти. Повір, бо твоя врода, то є чистая вода, то є бистрая вода синіє, то є бистрая вода синіє, то є бистрая вода синіє.
Дякуємо вам. So we have people who will help us. I don't know how to pray, but will be people who will help us to pray and say their prayer for Ukraine.
Hello, friends. I'd like to thank Brett Cohen and tremendous support of all Americans that come out on behalf of us Ukrainians, Ukrainian-born, those that came to this country like myself, who very young, but I love Ukraine. I used to go back there every year, and I promise that after the war is over, I'm gonna learn Ukrainian language back again. I'm gonna learn. Я буду спілкуватися на українській мові. There's been such a tremendous support. I meet with people on a daily because we've also organized humanitarian aid for Ukraine, and as we speak right now, our people on Ukrainian grounds are bringing bread and all the necessities to those that are in need in hot zones. They're working very hard, risking their own lives to be able to feed those that are in need. And right now, I want to call us all to prayer. I represent Ukrainian American Church here in South River, New Jersey, and I believe in power of prayer. While NATO is stalling and thinking and contemplating about closing the sky, I believe in the one that can close the sky. God can close the sky. God can protect the Ukrainian people, and I know a lot of you are praying always, and the way you know how, right now, let's take a minute to just turn to God in prayer, to heal the land of Ukraine, to shield the land of Ukraine, to protect the land of Ukraine, which we love so dearly, which we want to go back to and visit again, which we want to be free nation of all oppression that has been going on for so long.
Yes.
Let's turn to God right now, silently or loudly, or however you know how to pray. Let's call on Him, and I'll conclude the prayer. God, we turn to you right now and pray. I've seen countless of times how you answered prayer before, and I know that you hear us right now. Lord, we have an urgent need for the country of Ukraine, our homeland. There's not much that we can say at this time. We turn to you for protection over our land. Father, protect the women, the children, the soldiers that are fighting for its freedom right now. Lord, shield them with your protection right now. We need you. We desperately need you. We need your help. Almighty God, I pray for peace over our land. In Jesus' name, amen.
So guys, we are, I know the weather is kind of like, stormy, which pretty much speaks on what's going on right now. It's very relevant weather. So thank you for showing that's how bad it can be. But do we have any more speakers or people who want to speak? So we want to kind of like, okay. Yes, we have. We want to maybe have like 2 or 3 speakers at max at this point, and then we will conclude our gathering here with 2 things. First of all, please, there's people are passing along their information where, if you're interested, you can donate your money. Every cent, every dollar can be stretched and go a long way over there. So please, the people are there distributing information. We are trying to make sure that the sites and places where donate money, they're legitimate, so the money will get there in timely fashion, because it's important that we'll get support now, not 3 months from now, and actually supplies that they need immediately. So please, help us as much as you can. And after 2 more speakers, we will conclude that again, singing their Ukrainian anthem. So I'm going to pass to the next speaker.
Hi, my name is Yakov. I'm Jew. I'm from Odessa, Ukraine. I'm American. Many of you thinking how we can help. There is a very easy step what you can do. As you know, with sanctions, many Western oil companies exiting Russia. But I read a message yesterday that Shell was the only one company which bought 800,000 tons of Russian oil on auction, backed by private trader, which is backed by Russian money. So what you can do is free. You can just keep Shell and go to the other gas station. And also you can write a short message. Every company has you go to the Shell USA, you go to the customer service or wherever it's easy to find, and you can put the short message in the mail. You buying Russian oil or not buying your gasoline. That's it. And it's a lot of choice here. Exxon, everybody, they exiting the project, they not buying Russian oil. For the last 3 weeks, all Russian oil actions, which in Surgut got 0 buyers with steep discount. And only Shell is the company who did it today, which got $25 off the price. So boycott Shell, go to someone else, help Ukraine. Thank you. Well, it's a lot of messages what's going on in Odessa. I was in school, 80% of my classmates was kids from Russian military families who've been rotated through the Soviet Union and ended in Odessa. Most of them stay, most of them in Ukrainian army, in Ukrainian special forces. Their kids are in an army. My girl, I was sitting on the desk. She's Muslim, and her son been working in Poland. He returned from Poland to Ukraine. He joined the military. And when I spoke to my classmates, some of them being on the beaches, we spent the time together, laying down the explosives on the beaches to prevent the invasions. So we don't know what happened, but again, to keep the war, Putin needs money. To have money, he needs to sell oil. So we're not buying from the companies who buy Russian oil. We're helping. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Farhad, and like many of you, I'm a recent immigrant to the US. I've been moved to tears by the bravery of what I have seen of the Ukrainian people. It's just amazing. But I feel that there's more that we can do sitting here. We should call up and flood all our congressmen and congresswomen's phone numbers and our senators and let them know that the American people don't fear the price of gas. Let the price of gas not be the reason why we didn't stand up for freedom.
How's everyone doing today? I just wanted to let you guys know I am a resident here in East Brunswick, and thank you very much for everyone to come out today and support our country. I am 22 years old. My name is Tyler Lochran. I work actually for the Township of East Brunswick. I work on these buildings, and like I said again, I appreciate everyone coming out. At 3 years old, and I was born June 15, 2000, and on February 3rd of 2003, I was adopted from Zaporizhzhia, Ukraine. My story is quite crazy, actually. I was picked up from the street by Ukrainian police, and they raised me for about a year to 2 years. And I don't know what happened from then, because unfortunately, I don't know any of my parents. I don't know if I have any siblings there. But all I do know is when I see the videos and I lay in bed at night and I see the videos of Ukraine and I see the streets and where essentially I was born, where the buildings are crumbled and on fire and the cars and people in the cars, I cry at night because those could be my parents, those could be my siblings, those could be my family, as well as everyone else's family in this building who are with Ukraine and standing with Ukraine. So I just want to say thank you, and we stand with Ukraine, everyone, and thank you very much.
So before we break up, before we do the national anthem one more time, I do want people to know that there are things that you could do, and I know that it's been brought up today where you could donate, type places where you could find some of the websites and the links to places to donate. You do need to speak to your representatives. That's what they're there for. And even though there weren't people speaking here today, many of them are actually here with you today. We didn't ask them to speak because this is an opportunity to speak about Ukraine. This is not a political event or an opportunity for any of our elected officials to be speaking about themselves. It's a chance to hear from you. But I want you to know that they are listening. And if you do call, please keep in mind that our Senator Menendez sits at the head of the Foreign Affairs Committee. He is arguably the most important voice in the entire country on foreign affairs. He has the president's ear every single day, and he's our representative. Pick up the phones and call his office, because that's what he's there for, and he needs to hear from you, and he needs to hear from you now. And the reason that he needs to hear from you now is because as Ukrainian Americans, you have the opportunity to do what the Ukrainians can't, and that is to speak freely. We're going to conclude today again with the national anthem of Ukraine. Everybody, please stay safe. And please keep in mind all of the people suffering in Ukraine right now. Thank you for coming out today.
Please join us.
Усміхнеться до
coming here, for your time, for your words, sharing your emotions and your pain. And free Ukraine, let's Ukraine be free.